Hello. So usually when you try to beat Minecraft normally, you pretty much always do the same series of steps. You get some stone, make some tools, get some iron, make some better tools, and after getting a bit of extra stuff, you go to the nether to get some blaze rods, put some ice in the stronghold, and you beat the Ender Dragon. But what if we did all of that the other way around? What if we started in the end with no equipment, and ended our journey fully geared up in the overworld? Well, let's give it a try. But first, let's quickly explain how this challenge is going to work. The goal here is to do every step of the adventure in the reverse order, but since each step is a bit arbitrary, we're going to use the advancement system as a guideline. We will separate them into the 3 dimensions, and try to obtain the core advancements in the opposite order you're supposed to get them. So for example, we will have to get blaze rods before entering the fortress, we will have to find the stronghold before getting cobblestone, and so on. Alright, now that the challenge has been explained, let's get going. We start the run straight in the end, and the first thing we need to do is to leave this little platform to reach the main island. Unfortunately, the terrain generation doesn't have a path we can go through, so we'll have to make our own path. And since we don't have any tools, we'll have to slowly punch the blocks until they break. Really? Bro! But after the dragon decided to stop trolling, we just have to punch endstone for 7 minutes, and we clear the path to the main island. Now we need to kill the dragon, but wait, we literally have nothing. How are we gonna kill it? Well, we're gonna have to do with the only item we can obtain so far, ender pearls. By punching an enderman about 40 times, we have a 1 in 2 chance of dropping an ender pearl, and we will be able to use those ender pearls to access the end crystals, which we need to destroy. So first, we try to obtain an ender pearl. Nothing. Oh. Bro. And after killing 6 endermen, we finally get our first pearl. Finally. Now we can start taking our first end crystal, and the first one we want to prioritize is this one inside a cage, because if we manage to break it properly, the crystal explosion can give us a few iron bars. Now, we have a new block, that's pretty cool, but what can we even do with just 9 iron bars? Well, how about an enderman farm? Endermen are not the smartest creatures, and they tend to just stand inside dragon breath until they die. So with our iron bars, we're going to use the dragon's power against its own kin. First, we bait the dragon to shoot fire breath in a nice flat spot. Then we just make a 4 blocks high tower, and now we can just look at every enderman around us to bait them into the dragon's breath, allowing us to farm ender pearls much more efficiently. So now that we have a bunch of pearls, we can destroy a few crystals. Ah. Okay. No! Oh, finally. And after wasting so many pearls on this crystal, we already need to farm more of them. So we make a little staircase with our remaining iron bars to make the machine reusable, and then we just cycle between farming pearls and breaking crystals. Okay, trick shot! Trick shot! Bro, go in the purple dust. Oh, I think that was the last one of them. Alright, now that we finished destroying the end crystals, we can start hitting the dragon. And since we don't have any weapons, well, it's gonna take a while. But after just about 200 punches, we defeat the Ender Dragon and obtain our very first advancement. And after grabbing all of the experience orbs we're never going to use, we're done with the end. So now let's move on to the previous dimension. Alright, now that we're in the Nether, we're finally gonna be able to get some wood. I never thought I would ever say that. And after making a bunch of basic tools, and trying to make a boat with warped planks, that doesn't work, we start digging some gold nuggets so we can make a bit of armor, and we're quickly going to run into our first problem: food. The Nether is not the best place to obtain food. Basically, the only things we can eat in there are rotten flesh from pigmen, pork chops from hoglins, and soup from mushrooms. And since the first two options are a little bit too dangerous, we're just going to make some soup. So we start looking for some mushrooms, and after almost causing food poisoning to my character... Can I make soup with that? Can I make soup? Aw, dang it. We start looking for some real mushrooms. Alright, we got some brown ones. We just need to find red shrooms now. I just don't know. Ooh! Ooh! We got the fortress. Oh, got some gold. Okay, we can make a chest plate. Yes! Red mushrooms! We're saved. Oh, come on. Don't break my shrooms. Alright, I'm out of here. I got my shrooms. What is that, a bastion? Alright, now that we have our mushrooms, we make some soup, and we start moving towards our objectives. The first thing we need to do is getting some blaze rods, so we return to the fortress we found a few minutes ago, and try to find a blaze spawner. What's this thing over there? This looks like a standard room to me, so that's not the spawner. Oh, this kinda looks like the shape of a blaze spawner. Now that we found the blaze spawner, we start digging inside the pillar to reach it, but we're going to have to be careful here. Since we want to do things backwards, we want to obtain a blaze rod before entering the fortress. So to do this, we're going to have to carefully dig under the spawner while staying below the main part of the fortress, and bait some blazes down so we can get our blaze rod without entering the fortress. Okay, we got the blaze rod. Okay, now that we got the blaze rod advancement, we can enter the fortress. So we peacefully dig a little tunnel to reach it. Ooh, hello. Bro, that's not fair. Anyway, after this incident, we can finally reach the fortress, and we're going to run into a little issue. While we were doing all of our setup stuff under the fortress, a ton of blazes spawned, and when your equipment is 3 pieces of gold armor with a wooden axe, fighting a big group of blazes head-on is probably not a good idea. So instead, we're going to run for our life. Woo! And once we're far enough, all of those blazes are going to despawn, so we can come back to a safe spawner and start farming the blaze rods. No rod. Alright, next one. What? Didn't even see him shoot, how? Oh no. Oh no, 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 what am I doing? Lord. I gotta stop taking damage, I'm running out of soup. Ah! Man, what the hell? Defeat him! We have the 8 rods, we can leave. Alright, now that we got the blaze rod, it's time to go back to the overworld. But for that, we're going to need obsidian, so let's go back to the bastion we found a few minutes ago. Now, before entering it, we don't want to accidentally grab blackstone and trigger the cobblestone advancement, because we want to keep that one for later. So we're going to fill our inventory with planks to avoid that, and start exploring the bastion. Don't hit me. I'm friendly. I have armor. Just do that. Okay. 8 obsidian right away. That is huge. Let's get this chest. Oh. Hey. What? Why is this guy targeting me? What? Didn't do anything bad. Why does he hate me? I think I saw a chest like somewhere. Yeah, here. Wait, a block of iron? That's actually a game changer. Alright, after looting all of the chests, we got a bunch of cool stuff, but we're still missing 2 pieces of obsidian for the portal. So we're gonna have to trade piglins with the gold we got from the chest, hoping to get 2 more obsidian. Gravel, I don't need that. Blackstone, I really don't want that. Obsidian, I need 1 more. Oh, let's go. He gave me the obsidian I needed. Okay, now that we have enough obsidian, we dig a little place for the nether portal, and we're going to use the iron block to craft a bucket and a flint and steel, and we convert the rest of the iron into nuggets so that the ingots never land in our inventory, avoiding an advancement we need to get later on. And after all of that, we're done with the nether. Now that we're in the overworld, the first thing we're supposed to do is finding the stronghold. But that's when I realized we have a little problem. You see, when we left the end, I decided to go straight to the nether, since I thought it would be more fun to land in the nether with no equipment and work through the dimensions in the opposite order. However, if we strictly want to beat the game backwards from the advancement's point of view, then we were supposed to find the stronghold first and then go to the nether. So if we follow that, at this point in the run, we're not supposed to have set foot in the nether yet. Now, I could have deleted all of my footage and started over to try to do things in the correct order, but I was pretty happy with how the challenge turned out so far. So instead of doing that, I decided to just lock away all of my items in the nether, so we can pretend like we've never set foot in there and we will only be able to get those items back once we get to the nether in the right order of things. Okay, now we can finally resume the challenge. Firstly, since we don't have any equipment left, we're going to get a bit of wood. And after a bit of exploring, the night quickly falls, so we dig a hole in the ground and we wait. And when the day arises, we start getting a bit of food and resume the exploring. Food. We can one-shot pigs with a wooden axe. Kinda crazy. Shipwreck! We can't get the iron. We can get the nuggets though. We can find some food. Potato we can take, wheat we can take. Nighttime. Time to not play the game for 10 minutes. Alright, we can get out now. Okay, now that we have a few tools and a bit of food, it's time to go back to our objective, finding the stronghold. But wait, we sealed all of our blaze rods in the nether and we can't go back there until we found the stronghold, which means we can't make Eyes of Ender. So how are we gonna find the stronghold? Well, in theory, we could just blindly dig tens of thousands of blocks hoping to eventually find a stronghold. But that would take forever, especially considering that since we need to find the stronghold before getting cobblestone, we would have to do this using only wooden pickaxes. So we're gonna need to find another solution. And thankfully, there's 2 tricks that can help us with that. Firstly, the way strongholds generate is not completely random. In Java Edition, strongholds generate in rings, with each ring containing a specific amount of strongholds in a specific area, and each stronghold being spread around relatively evenly. That means that instead of searching this whole circle, we can just limit our search to a part of this ring. Now, that's cool and all, but this is still a huge area, and digging through all of that with wooden pickaxes would still take an eternity. But thankfully, there's an item that can help us with that. Boats. Yeah, we're gonna break the game again. The problem with finding the stronghold is that in order to even check if it's there, we have to dig all the way down, and that's the part that takes forever. It would take a lot less time if we could just check if it's there without having to dig. And that's where the boat comes into play. As you might already know, there's a pretty popular X-ray glitch that just requires you to push a slab into your character by using a piston. Now, the problem with that is that since we can't get cobblestone yet, we wouldn't be able to craft a piston, preventing us from doing that. But what causes the X-ray is not the piston, it's just the act of being inside a slab. So instead of a piston, we can just use a boat to glitch inside the slab, and ta-da! We can now get a pretty decent view of the underground, allowing us to check if there's any strongholds around. Now, I usually don't like using exploit glitches like that, but literally our only other option would have been to dig the entire planet with a wooden pickaxe. And I would like to finish this video before next year, so I'll allow it for once. But still, even with the power of boats and slabs, it's still gonna take a while to find the stronghold. So let's get exploring. Let's try to set one up here, but I don't think it's gonna work with the water. Nope, it doesn't work. Unfortunate. Let's get out of here. Shipwreck! Okay, I have more iron nuggets. That's great. Let's check this other cave. I guess we have creepers. Nether portal! What do we have in here? Iron nuggets maybe? Ugh. Alright, no more water. Now we can properly set up boats. Okay, lush cave. Why is there another portal down there? Well, let's get out of here. Oh, come on. Of course there's another ocean. That's not my boat. You cow. We could make a leather chest plate. That would be cool. I need one more leather. And we got the chest plate. Perfect. Alright, let's go back to the boat. Really? All I'm seeing is nothingness. Bricks? Why are there bricks over there? What? Bricks? I have no idea what this is. Did I miss an update or something? I do not know what that is. What the hell? I am so confused. Anyway, after exploring about another 1,000 blocks without anything interesting, we end up finding a village. So we can set our spawn point there, and with all of the hay bales in there, we're finally going to be able to eat something better than raw pork chops. And after a little bit more running around, we finally find what we need. Stronghold. Alright, now that we finally found the stronghold, we make sure our inventory is full so we don't accidentally grab cobblestone, we sneak in a nearby cave that seemed pretty close to the stronghold, and after a bit of digging, we find an entrance and we get in. Let's go! I mean, since we're here, let's find the portal room real quick. Where the hell is it? I swear I searched the whole place like 20 times. Like, is it hidden behind a wall or something? I'm starting to lose my mind. You've gotta be kidding me. Alright, now that we found the portal room and got the I Spy advancement, we can move on to the next step, going to the Nether. But since the two advancements before that are getting obsidian and getting a lava bucket, we need to avoid both of those, so we won't be able to make a portal the normal way. And if we can't forge a portal in water, we'll have to forge it directly in lava. But first, we still need a bit more nuggets to make a bucket for the water, so after leaving the stronghold, we try to look for a shipwreck. Oh, nuggets please. Thank you. And now we're going to search for a cave so we can find some lava. And after a small incident... Oh f***ing lord. We end up finding the lava. So first we check if it's deep enough to make a portal, then we shape the portal with dirt and gravel, and after lighting up the portal, we're back in the nether. Now we're already done with all of the nether advancements, since we did that at the beginning, but we still need to get our equipment back. The chunks where the items are dropped were not loaded this whole time, so we should be safe, but I was still a bit concerned, so I ran there as fast as I could. Alright, 279 minus 24. I hate this biome. Dead end, we gotta dig. I'm starting to not be 100% sure if my items are still here. According to my calculations, it just has to be here. Yes, it's here. Oh, the question is... Yes, my gear is still there. Alright, now that we got our items back, we equip our shiny golden armor again, make sure we have the rods and the iron nuggets, and return to the overworld. Now, theoretically, I didn't really need to do this according to the rules, but just to do things right, I wanted to fill up the end portal with eyes. So we travel back to the stronghold, dig all the way back down, and we place the eyes. Alright, that's done. Okay, now let's quickly take a look at the advancements we have left. First, we need to get some diamonds, but since we can't make an iron pickaxe yet, we're going to have to bring a creeper to help us with that. So we bring a creeper towards a diamond vein, and make him explode. Well, I guess we need another one. Oh! Yes! Let's go! Then we need to get a lava bucket, which was pretty simple. After that, we need a piece of iron armor, an iron pickaxe, and an iron ingot, which we can easily make one by one with our iron nuggets. And now we just have 2 more advancements left. But one of them is going to be our biggest challenge so far. Making a stone pickaxe. I'm actually serious, we're gonna have a problem here. Normally, making a stone pickaxe is as simple as just grabbing 3 pieces of cobblestone and crafting it. However, since we're doing everything backwards, we want to get the stone pickaxe advancement before getting the cobblestone advancement. And at first glance, that seems impossible. Like, how could we craft a stone pickaxe without stone? Well, we can't. But we can trick the game into thinking we can. The way the cobblestone advancement works is that if a piece of cobblestone lands in your inventory, you immediately get the advancement. So if we want to craft a stone pickaxe, we're going to need to trick the game into thinking the cobblestone never landed in our inventory. And for this, we're going to use an oversight with the way the second hand is coded. While you're in the interface of a container, you can move an item directly into your offhand by using your offhand button, but that leaves the game in a confused state. At this moment, since you're in an interface that doesn't handle your offhand slot, the game doesn't check if you have something in there, and so it doesn't know that it's supposed to give you the advancement. The problem though is that as soon as we close this interface, the game remembers that your second hand is part of your inventory and instantly gives you the advancement. But thankfully, there's a way to avoid that. And for this, we're going to need the help of a little item. The boat. Yeah, you're getting used to it at this point. If we dig some cobblestone and make it fall into a hopper, we can move this cobblestone inside the boat chest. And since the boat chest acts like a portable inventory, we can move it wherever we want and open its inventory at any time. So if we aim at a crafting table, we can open the boat's inventory, put the cobblestone in our second hand, and at this point, normally closing the boat's menu would make the game realize we have cobblestone in our second hand and would give us the advancement. But if we're fast enough, we can close the boat's menu and instantly open the crafting table in the same tick, allowing us to bypass the offhand check and peacefully craft our stone pickaxe without getting the cobblestone advancement. And now, we just have to dig one piece of cobblestone, and we're done. We've obtained all of the core advancements you usually get in a playthrough in the complete opposite order. And as a nice way to end this, I decided to go to the spawn location, throw away all of my equipment, and there we go. We started from the end, and now we're back at the beginning, just like if we started a brand new world. Alright, let's get some wood.